So right now it is recording. Okay. So that is the object designer. How do you open a database? I know that one you already know. You come to File, Database, and then Open. So right now this is my SQL Server. I can click on this lookup, and these are the SQL servers and SQL Server instances that I have on my computer. I hope you understand the difference between a SQL Server instance. Yes, so I can have, for example, Microsoft. Now I have SQL Server 2017, but I can also create another instance of 2017. And I call it maybe SQL Server 2017 instance 1. So I can have multiple instances of a given version of SQL Server. So these are the SQL servers I have. Right now I'm using 2017. And then once I click on the lookup, it will show me the available what? Databases, okay? It will show me the available databases. And now I say database I want to work with, and then press OK. After selecting, I press OK. My OK seems to be hidden down, but I can simply double click. So that's how we select a database. We have two authentication methods. I know you also saw this when you are installing SQL Server. We have the Windows authentication and the database server authentication. So if you installed with mixed mode, you can select a database authentication, then you enter your username and what? And the password, then you will be in position to connect to that database. Now, in most cases, what we normally do here is that all our developments happen on a central server. So you find that for us, we normally connect to, we have different servers. For example, we have a server called dev. If I type here dev as the server name, and I'm in position to see all the databases that I want to work with. For example, if I want to work with the NRM database, I can click there. If I want to work on PM Zambia, I can click there, and so on. So we have all the databases sitting on a central server. You know that 3-tier. Our database are sitting on a server, then we can access them using our client, and even the development environment can access those same databases. So that's how we open a database. Now, to create a new object, you simply click the new button, okay? We shall look at the details later, but once you create a new object, you have to specify the field name, the field number, the field name, data type, the length, and the description. Although the description is optional. So that's how you create a new object. You simply click new, and then you create a new object. To design a new object or to modify a new object, you click on that object, and then you click what? Design. So once you design, it will show you the available objects there, the available fields there, and then you can go at the bottom and you add the additional fields that you want. So later on, we shall see how to add the additional fields on this. And also there are cases whereby you may want to access the code behind. As you can see, this is cal code. You can either press F9 to see the code behind, but we shall get into that later on. Compiling an object, I normally use is it F8, but to compile, you normally go to Tools, is F11, and you click Compile. So as you develop, you need to compile your objects. Compiling will check for all, if you have any errors, any syntax errors, and other things. And once you compile, it automatically tick this. Saving an object, of course, this is very easy. If I come to File and I create a new object, Let me call, I'm going to create a new object called students. So my students will have a number, and the data type will be code. We are going to look at that, and I'll give it a length 20. And then I'll also have another field called first name. And this will be text, and it will go up to 50. So how do I save an object? I can press Ctrl S, or I can click here, File, and I save. Then as I'm saving, I give it, as remember that time we said we have object IDs. I give it the object IDs. So when we are developing customized objects, we start with the 50,000 range. Now Microsoft is using all other ranges to make standard objects. Now, if you are customizing your objects, start with the 50,000 range going downwards. Some ranges are licensed. So later on, I will tell you which other ranges we can develop in. But for now, once you are creating a custom object is an object that does not ship with Dynamics NAV. You always change it, save it in the 50,000 range. So I'll come here and I give it an ID because this is my first object, and then also give it a name. So this is what my student object. So we also have what we call naming conventions. So if you are creating a table, name it in a singular form. Okay. For example, if I look at the table for customers in the system, it will be called customer. Okay. When I look at the table that stores vendors, the system, it will be called vendors. So sorry, it will be called vendor. It must be singular. So here, of course, it has no harm, even if you call it any other thing, but given that you may have other developers that are going to develop on your solution, not to confuse them, we normally follow the same naming conventions. So I'll come here and I save my table as a student. So as you can see here up, I have table called what? A student with two fields, number and name. And here, if I go to 50,000 range, okay, I'm seeing this range. So the reason why I can't use like 9,000 or 01, Microsoft, in the next version, they may decide to use that field ID. And now when you're doing an upgrade, your customizations are overwritten by Microsoft. When you do an upgrade, maybe you are upgrading from 2013 maybe to 2018. So that's why it is advisable to use 50,000 range. So I've created my table student. As you can see, the modified field is now ticked, okay? Because I've modified it, yes. Yes, now there are some tables that are called system tables and other tables. So as I told you, this is used for customization, but there are also other ranges that we can use. Now this million, 9 million, and there's also, I think 2 something. Some of them are system tables. So even these ranges, we don't create custom objects in these ranges. These are all reserved for Microsoft. So what we normally do, we normally put in 50,000 and another given range that I will give you as we proceed with the training. Okay, so as you can see, the naming convention for a table is what? Should be in singular. My vendor, my what? This is a student. Then modified because I've created this table. So as I create, I've also modified it. Because as I add more fields, I'm modifying that table. So that's why you see the modified is ticked. Then I have no version. So given that this is a custom table, I can give it my own version. So I can call it maybe Student Management Information System, okay, as my version. Then it automatically stamps the date. Today is 21st and the time. And then it also shows that it has been compiled. Then I've not locked it and other things. So that's how we create a table. No, there's no naming convention for version. The naming convention is maybe for, okay, Microsoft, yeah? Now, if you look at this, I'm seeing this now 16.0. Now, this shows the earlier versions of NAV. We had NAV 2009. Okay. Now, this shows that this object has not changed because this version is for 2009. So it shows that although we are in 20, this version is 2013. This object has not what? Has not changed because it has a version of 2009. So, but for custom objects, there's no naming convention. You find that some other developers, if my tag is mag, I can just put my what? My name as a version. All right. So we've seen how to compile an object. Now there's an important scenario whereby you may need to export these objects and share them with the client. So in most cases, after developing this student, remember I've developed it here, but if I want to send this object maybe to a client side, yeah, the client also has Dynamics NAV installed. So how do I extract this object? I can come here to File, and I say Export, okay? If I click Export, it exports in two formats. I can export it as .fob or .txt. So when we are sending objects to clients, we send them as .fob because now the .fob format cannot be modified. So if I enter this as student and I click Save, the object type cannot be used. What did I do? File, Export, and then I'm using fob. Let me just create my new folder here. Code training, and then I don't need to put the extension. I can just type student and I click what? Save. So I've saved my object under this folder, and now I can get this and I send it to what? The client after creating a new object. Now at the client side, we normally have IT administrators and other people. So once they receive this object, they also open Dynamics NAV. And then now for them, they do file what? File import, then they locate the object. Okay, open, and now blah, 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 already in use. Okay, I already have the object, okay? That's why it is telling me this. You want to proceed if I click okay, then it is telling me that it is going to merge the changes with this. I can decide to replace all, and then I click OK. So it will show me that it has replaced one object because I had it already in the system.
Not definitely. Sending objects to
clients.
You also sometimes add documentation and mentions.
Yes, we do that. We do. Of course, when you're writing your email, you have to tell the client this object is addressing this issue. After saying that, you also tell them the steps. It even includes screenshots. You also include screenshots. But for this training, I want to go into that because our object does not do that much. So that's how you export to. It must be FOB, and the FOB format you cannot modify it. Now, when you are developing, in most cases you may decide to export the object as TXT so that you can maybe look through the code or what. So in such cases, once you click File and you click Export, you can come here and you set TXT, and then you save that. So if I go back to my folder, I will see that I have the TXT format, and now the TXT format is showing me the details of my object. The object is the object type is table. The table ID is 50,000 students. I'm seeing the object properties, and I'm seeing the fields. I have only two fields. The system automatically defaults the first field to be the primary key. So under the keys, you can say I have only number, and then I have not written any code in relation to this object. Sorry? Yes, yes, but don't send TXT formats to clients, because somebody may come in the TXT and they modify. You've made some changes, somebody comes and modifies, they add a new field here, okay? And they add the changes. If you're checking, maybe if the balance is greater than 0, somebody changes, balance is less than 0. And what's the important now, if you're giving out discounts, and you've written something, if balance is greater than maybe 10,000, then give out a discount. And then you send TXT. Somebody may change and say, okay, if balance is maybe this. So that can be something dangerous. So you normally send them in FOB, because we are sure in FOB you cannot open it. You cannot, there is no application that can open FOB. You just, and in FOB, the object is already compiled. But if it is in TXT, the next time you import, you have again to do what? To recompile it. You have again to recompile it. Now there is another important feature that what happens if you want to send like 100 tables? Would you export one by one? You select all. For example, I can come here. Let me go to table 18. I can do this. And I do what? But I may want to, what if I want to export some tables, then some pages, some reports? Will I send, for example, if I want to send some tables, pages, and reports, how will I do that? Because, yes, that can work. I can go to all, I view all, but still, okay, I can view all and then export others. But another important thing that you can do, we have what we call marked. You can mark your objects. So if I come here, for example, if I want to export the customer, I can come here to edit and I say toggle what? Toggle mark. Then I go to my pages. I also want to, we said pages I used to view, edit, modify. We don't modify, the client does not modify it through the table. So when you're learning the application, I think you saw the vendor card, the customer card. So those are the cards that we use to edit. So if I've modified the table, then I need to put that change on the card so that somebody can see it. So if I also come here, I can also toggle mark. Then in case I have a report that I've also designed, I can also toggle mark it. So after toggle marking my fields, I can come to the view and I say mark only, and then I click all the fields. So as you can see now, I have my customer table. This is a table based on this icon, and this is a what? A card. So I can now select all the fields that I have toggle marked and then export them in a file and then send them to the client. So one of the mistakes that people normally do when they start developing, you find somebody sending 20 objects in one email. Then you ask them why. They tell you, no, because I cannot export all of them at once or what? No, you can export them. You can export all the objects into one small file that you share with the client. Okay, the reason why we don't want you to send individual objects is that the client may forget to upload maybe the customer card, and yet these objects work at the same time. So if you miss out one, maybe the functionality may not work as expected. So that's why you export them as one file and share them with the client. Now, objects have what we call properties. Objects have what we call properties. For example, if I click on the customer and I design it, how do we access properties of an object? You go to the extreme end of the object, okay? And you click in the first blank field, yeah? The first blank cell down. If you click in this field, in this cell, you want to get the properties. You must go at the extreme end and you click the first blank field, and then up here we have that properties section. Alternatively, you can press Shift plus F4. So once you click on this, you see the properties of the object. So the first property is the ID. We have the customer. We have permissions. We have the lookup page ID. Now, in most cases, for example, when you are doing the sales order, I know you went through the sales order process. You specify the sale to customer number. So once you click on the sale to customer number, you realize that the system is showing a customer list, isn't it? How does it get that customer list? Is specified in this what? In this property. If I come here as a very dangerous developer, and I say that this table should look at the what? And the vendor list, I save this. Now I go to my maybe sales orders, and I try to edit this. This is what we call a very dangerous developer. So instead of looking at the customer list here, because I've said the lookup list should be the vendor list, and this is a sales what? Now, we don't sell to vendors, we sell to customers. So if I click on this and I click on advanced, what are these? These are vendors. Because I've changed it from the customer list to, I'm doing this as a scenario. If you go there, don't do this and say, Emmanuel told us that you can change this to this. It will be causing problems for me. This was just a scenario on how the lookup, I will go back to the customer list. Okay, then so that it goes, so that is what the lookup list does. Now I know in other programming, that's why I said that NAV is very easy. If you've developed in PHP, if you want to get a lookup list, you know the hassle you go through. You first declare the option tag. Actually, you start with the select tag, then you go in the option tag, then the option tag, you put a select statement, then you store the statement in the list, then you come. But here, it is as simple as specifying the what? The property. And the list will be there. So isn't that very easy? Then we have the data caption fields. Data caption fields, these are all properties. So as you develop, you'll find that if I go to my customer, list, and I edit this card, maybe. I'm seeing the name here, number and what? And name. So these are called data. These are just field properties. In case I want to add maybe the address to also appear up here, I can simply come here and I say, I see data caption fields. I can come at this and I say now I want to add another what? Another field as a data caption. People normally post pictures and they say caption it. So if I come here and I edit this, you find that the address has also been added to the data caption. So these are just properties that you do on the table and they take effect on the client. So as we go through the developer, you'll find I'll be giving you assignments telling you to add this, make the lookup to this. So I don't expect you to write code, yeah? You can also achieve it in code, by the way. I can write code that can look up a table list. But if the property is there, where should I write code? But there are some scenarios whereby you need to write code. For example, I may say that maybe this salesperson is working on these customers, and I want this salesperson to only see a given number of what? Customers. So in other words, I need to put a filter on the customer list when somebody is placing a sales order. So in such cases, as you can see here, I have no option for a filter. So I can go in code and now call this customer list with a filter. I write code saying that if this, then find this, and we shall reach there. But there are scenarios whereby you need to write code, but there are also scenarios whereby you need to use the field properties. So as a good developer, you should know which scenario should I use. Don't use a gun to kill a mosquito. So those are the properties of tables. Then tables have also what we call triggers. I know you've heard of triggers. What is a trigger? Yes, that is very, very correct. When a particular action is done, then you want to call some code. Yeah, that is what we call a trigger. So tables have triggers. For example, I can say when somebody inserts something, I want you to stamp their user ID automatically. So that can be done through the triggers. When you are creating sales orders, you realize that the number series automatically come, isn't it? So meaning that there is a trigger on insert. There's what we call an on insert trigger where such things happen. So if I try to go to the sales order list, actually that is the sales header, and I design this table. If I click on the cal code, these are the triggers. Let me just scroll up. Okay, are you seeing the on insert trigger? So when you are creating a sales, realize that number series come. So we shall look at this code later on. But here, what I want to show you that this is the code that gets the number series. It is telling if the number is blank, then test where number series have been set in the system, then initialize the number series. So the code is already there. So that is the on insert trigger. Okay. So the concept is not to learn about the code, but to understand the tables have triggers. One of the triggers we have the on insert. When somebody in order to create new, you find that the number comes automatically. So in case you want to modify something, you want maybe to stamp the user ID of the person. That means when somebody creates new, you can now put your code on the on insert trigger so that you initialize some important fields.
The insert on the new button or on the card. Where you insert.
Now the on insert, if you've worked with NAV, during the application training, you realize that we don't have a save button in NAV. So the moment you click new and the primary key is inserted, that is the on insert trigger. The moment you see that a number has been generated, or the moment the primary keys are inserted, the moment even if other fields are not filled in and the primary key is there, then that is the on insert trigger. That is what inserts in NAV. Then as you modify other fields, you are doing what? As you insert other fields, you're modifying. Yes, now it depends. It depends on the table we are looking at. So if you're looking at the customer table has the numbers, the primary key. But you're going to look at primary keys. There are cases whereby you can have like 2 keys making a primary key. Among the triggers that we have the on insert trigger. We have on modify. We have on delete. We have on which other one? They're supposed to be for. Okay, on close can be on a page. Okay, these are, I'm still on the table triggers. Table triggers. Remember, we insert table. Now we modify tables using pages, so we shall not access the tables directly in the application. On insert, on modify, on delete, and on rename. I think on rename, yeah. So these are the table triggers that we have in Dynamics NAV. And as you develop, you realize that you need these triggers. For example, we know that we have a sales code, a sales order. Now, a sales order has what we call the sales header section and the sales line. Okay? And the sales line. So in the sales line, that's where here in the sales header, you specify things like the customer number. And then in the sales line, you specify things like the items, the GL accounts, things that somebody is buying. So when somebody deletes this table, if I want to delete this, I may also want to delete the corresponding what? The corresponding lines down. So meaning that here in the on delete trigger, I will also write code that deletes from the sales lines. Okay. You may find that most developers that are learning at times once they delete here, they forget to delete in the related tables. Then you find there are some records, you might call them orphan records. They don't have the source, yeah? Find the record dating the customer sales order, but when you look at the sales header, you cannot trace for that sales header. So this is how the triggers come in. When I'm writing my code on the trigger of the sales header, I can write code that now also dates from the sales line. So that those are the triggers. Okay. Are we together? Now, we have the logical structure of the database and the physical structure of the database. Now, in NAV, we are not much worried about the physical structure. As I told you, NAV is very, very easy. You're not worried about where files are stored or what. You're not worried about that. But what we need to understand is the logical structure of the NAV database. So NAV starts with what we call field. This is the smallest. Yeah? So as you can see, this field is the smallest component of this database. Then from the fields, we go to what? To tables, isn't it? We go to the table. So if I combine all these fields and I go back, I have my tables. And then from the tables, we have companies. I know now you know what we call a company. Not Uganda Telecom Company Limited or what, but the company in relation to what? To Dynamics NAV. Then from the companies, these companies, we normally refer them as sub-databases. Yeah? Once you create a new company and you run just SQL tables, you realize that there are some sort of sub-databases that have been created. Then the highest is the database. So the only thing you need to know is that structure. So we've looked at tables and we've seen that tables have properties. Now fields also have properties. Even the fields have what? Properties. For example, I'm moving too fast to let me know. Hope you're still together. But this is just the beginning. We are just going through these things that we already know in other programming languages, but now we are seeing how they apply to now. We say tables have what? Properties. They also have triggers. Now, another thing that tables have that I didn't talk about, tables have what we call keys. What is a key? What is a key? A key is a primary key. Okay, a key is an identifier. Some people say that a key is the name of the record. Is that true? If I say a key is the name of the record, if I have my record called maybe employees, I have number, first name, last name, and other things. Now that number will be the unique identifier. We can have the same names, but now the number will be the unique identifier. So tables have keys. How do you know the keys? You go to view and you say what? Keys. So there are quite a number of keys But here, as you can see, the first key is the what? Is the primary key. The first key is the primary key. Other keys are secondary keys. So a primary key is the unique identifier. Now, what is a secondary key? Is a foreign key the same as a secondary key? No. So what let us start? What is a foreign key? Yes, foreign keys can be used to link to tables, isn't it? Then the primary key, rather primary keys, we've said that is a unique identifier. Then we have secondary keys. Or you've never heard of secondary keys? Not necessarily. Secondary keys, now by default, when you are sorting data in NAV, if I go here to my application, are you seeing the sorting algorithm? I'm sorting by what? By number. And during the application, I think you learned about how sorting works in NAV. Because somebody may say, why is this 1,000 coming below this? You didn't. But if I open the manuals, I know even the page where this thing is. But nevertheless, what happens, this code is like, this code can be alphanumerical. It is not like a number the way you think, but it is just like text, or it can be alphanumerical. So what SQL does, it will look at all numbers that are starting with what? With zeros first, because it's sorting text. So if I write something like 0, 1, 1, and something like 1, then this one is less than 1. Although this appears to be like 11, but when SQL is sorting, for it will look at what do you have as the first record here, and what do you have as this. It will sort, yes, character-wise. So that's why you see that all records that start with zeros are the first records. Then all those that start with 1, it doesn't care what you have after that. But if you start with 0, then you are less than a record that starts with 1. Say somebody, okay, I think you get it. I won't explain too much. So here, as you see, we have tools, then we have these. As you go down, you find we have also. So that's how SQL sorts the numbers. So that's why now in our key, we said that we are sorting by number, because by default, the SQL sorts by the first what? Okay, it sorts by the primary key, which is the first record. There are scenarios when you're developing, When you're developing, we shall look at an example whereby you need to send maybe sales invoices to customers. Sales invoices to customers. So I can have customer 1. I should put this far away so that I don't click it next time. So I can have customer 1 with sales order maybe 1. Then this is customer number 1. Then I have customer number 2 with sales order number 2. Then customer 1 comes again with sales order 3. Now, if I want to email these sales orders, then again, let me say customer number 2 comes in with sales order 4. Now, if I want to email these sales orders to customers, and maybe I write a for loop, what the system will do, it will send the first email there, okay? Then it will send the second email, that order, because my sales orders are arranged like this. Then it will send another email, but it's sending now 2 emails to what? To the one customer. Then it will again send the second email to the same customer. Now, how do I do that? Now, in the system, if I come here and I create a secondary key, maybe called customer name. In my code, there's a function called set current key. We shall look at those functions later on. I can, for example, if I come and I create my secondary key here as a search name, it means that in the system here, I can sort by, I can sort, as you can, I think a search name is available. I can sort by search name, meaning that now, if I'm writing code that sends emails, that means the first thing is to sort by the customer name, isn't it? So that I have all sales orders relating to customer 1 coming what? Sales order number 1 and sales order number 3 coming first. Because I'm sorting by what? Customer name. Then sales orders that relate to customer 2 coming after the other. Now, when I'm sending email, I can now combine this and send them in one email, and also combine this and send them because I'm sorting by the customer name. So that is the importance of the secondary keys. They are mainly used to sort in a different order other than the what? The primary key sorting method. So you'll find this sorting key very useful because the client will call you and they say, but why are we receiving these tries? Why do we receive this partially? Now, for you in the system, you understand that you have very many records. Now you are sending this, sending also this, but if you first sort the records using the secondary key, you can have now that big bunch combined and synced. So that those are the secondary keys. If a key is not a primary key, is it a secondary key? Okay, but the primary key has a unique feature. It uniquely identifies. Okay, the primary key uniquely identifies is the name of the record, but secondary keys are just used for sorting purposes. Although you can also use a primary key as a default, it's still sorts by the primary key. But there are scenarios whereby you want to sort by your given order. You may want to sort by date, and date is not a primary key. So in such scenarios, you have to specify the secondary keys. And as you specify the secondary keys, you realize that here in the list, they will be available as sorting options. What's happening across the entire thing? Okay, so those are keys. Now, what was this? So, data types in NAV. No, I'm not going to open my NAV not now. Yeah? I don't know why it is. Okay, NAV has different data types. We have code, text, big int, option, and other things. So as I told you, code is alphanumeric, isn't it? You can have your code as C001. Code is alphanumeric, and there are some naming conventions. There are some conventions that we use. If a primary key is code, we normally give it at least 20 what? 20 characters. 20 characters. We find that in most of the tables, our primary keys can hold up to 20 what? 20 characters. So when you're revoking a custom table, also give your primary keys up to around 20 what? 20 characters, because this will help In case you are looking up a given table, which is also 20, it can insert into that same field of the primary key that has 20. Then the names, we normally do up to 50 characters. Names are text. Then we have the text field, we have the code, then we have the decimal, which is a number. So as you can see, for decimal, we don't need the length. So we know in other programming languages, the decimal can hold up to 60 forward. A decimal again characters.
Number.
Up to 64 digits. Okay, there is that range that you don't need to grasp, although if you are declaring your variables and basing on the number of data that field is going to hold, you need to know. Should I use a decimal? Should I use an integer? What is the difference between an integer and a decimal? Yes, the first difference is we have decimal points, and when you want, for example, if I'm declaring, rather if I'm going to record things like age, there are cases I don't want somebody to tell me I'm 2.5 years, and we want to know whether you are 2 or 3 years. So in such cases, I can declare as a what? As an integer. And there are cases whereby if I have your date of birth, I don't need to ask for your age. So if somebody tells you date of birth, you write code and now populates the what? The age field. So meaning that if you are born in 2000 and you're in 2020, the moment you tell me that I was born in 2000, there's a function that can find today's date, then I subtract your date of birth, and then I populate in my age field. So age can be an integer. On insert. Now, one thing I did mention is that even fields have triggers, but we are going to reach there. Even fields have what? Triggers. For example, if I want to find your age from the date of birth, then I need to go on the trigger of the date of birth, because this is what is going to trigger it. Yeah, you get it. I go to the date of birth on validate trigger. If I just click, okay, right now let me click on maybe the name, and I click. Now I'm seeing here on validate. In most cases, when you're interacting the application, there is that once you enter the name, the search name automatically comes. So this is what is doing that. It is getting what you've entered in the name and is assigning it the search name. So it means right now, don't mind about the code. We shall have sessions for that. But just to answer your question, is that I will go on the date of birth on validate trigger. That's where I will put the code that populates the what? The age field. Because I don't on insert, just insert the primary record. And if you put the code on insert, probably you've not even filled in the date of birth. So the system will throw even errors there. But if you go on the validate trigger and you say now find age and you put the function there, then the system will do that. So we said tables have triggers, even fields have what? Triggers. The field triggers we have the on validate trigger. We also have the on lookup. Remember the other scenario that I told you that there are some cases whereby you don't want to use the standard table relation. For example, if you want the customer list to be filtered by the salespersons. So in such scenarios, you write your code in the what? In the on lookup trigger of that field. Because on lookup, remember the property we had is lookup, we had lookup list somewhere. Now here, if you don't want it to work the way, or you want to add some code there, then you use the on lookup trigger to write that code. Yes, you write code that looks up now, but you write it yourself. But if you use the property, then you just retrieve the entire list. Tables have triggers, fields have triggers. fields also have properties. We said tables have properties. Mohammed, are you still with us? Tables have properties, even fields have properties. So remember, how do we access the properties of a field? We go to the extreme end and we press the fields. That is this properties section. Now, how do we access the properties of the field? Somebody can guess that. Is the drop down on where is that drop down? Yes, we select the field and then we select properties. So what I see now, these are properties of my address field. Just the caption, mount language. You know, the Dynamics NAV can work in different languages. Yeah? Now, if a developer and you want NAV to maybe work in also the French language, here when I'm declaring my caption mount language, this is, I think, English United States. So everything else, we have different codes. Eh? So you can come here, and then this is English United States. Then you say, in Arabic, this is called, what's the name? Meaning that when somebody is looking at the address field, and maybe they are using Arabic as their language, they won't see address. They will see the name that you've put there. But if you don't put this, then it will still appear in the first language, which is always the default language. So this is the field that we clicked on. Yeah? This is the field that we clicked on. So we said fields also have properties, and to access the properties of the fields, you click on the field that you want, and then you click on what? On the properties. Back to the keys. Another important concept that you need to know, we can have up to 40 keys. Yeah? Can have up to 40 keys. So meaning that I can put as many keys. Okay, I think for this, I will give you the materials and you read it in detail, yeah? But I remember having 40, I think 40 keys. Per table. It is per record, yeah? Record can, I don't know whether, I think, is it 40 fields? You know this key? Okay, that one I'll leave you to make research on, yeah? I'll give you manuals. Maybe tomorrow we shall start with it. You let me know. But I remember 40 something, either 40 fields in a key or up to 40 keys, but I'm not sure about that. I'll just give you the manuals and you read through. I think it was 40 keys, but I'll give you and you read through. Having up to 40, you see how many keys are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know whether you can have now more. These are 13. So if I want to add more, I can have, what is 13 minus 14? 27. So I can add more 27 keys here. If I exceed 27, the system, I think, will complain, but we will try that out. Then a primary key. Now, in our scenario, where we had our sales order and sales line. So in the sales order, I can have my primary key as what? As number, isn't it? And in the number, for example, I can have sales order 0001. Okay. Now, if I go to the sales lines, remember sales order has a header and then the lines. Now, in the sales lines, remember I want this sales line to relate to what? The sales order. So I need to get one field up that I'm going to make a primary key here. So I can come here and I call it maybe document number. And this document number should be the same as this. But remember, displacement number, here I can have multiple what? Multiple lines. So it means that displacement number is not enough to be a key here. So I may add another thing maybe called line what? Line number, whereby if I have this, I can have the line number like 10,000. Then I have the same thing. Line number maybe 20,000. This formation is unique, isn't it? It's unique. So this is also a primary key. But it has how many fields? It has 2 fields. So in NAV, you can have up to 20 fields in one primary key. I don't know whether it makes sense. I can have up to what? And so Microsoft thinks that the moment you get the 20 fields, you have at least the uniqueness. You have the uniqueness in that. Now, our first demo that I need you to try out when I've left, because I'm leaving in the next 30 minutes. I want you to create a table. Let us come up with an exercise, all of us. Let's see what we are going to do. So tomorrow we shall be looking at pages. Today we are going to look at only tables. So we are going to create a simple table. We shall call it student. I'm not going to tell you the ID to give it, but I know you will give it a good idea. Ensure that you don't overwrite our standard tables. Because if you overwrite, you may go back to the sales order and the thing is no longer working. So we shall create our table called students. We shall give it fields. And among the fields, we shall have the number as our primary key. This we shall give it code, code 50. We shall have the first name. This will be text. Code will be 20, not 50. This will be 50. Then we shall have last name. Although it will also be text 50. Some people have middle names. They only have 2 names. What about you? Anybody with 3 names? You never took them. And then finally, no, I want it there. You also put it there. Then we shall also, okay, even this is a student, we shall just put another field called score. Okay? We shall also put another field called score. That one you will find out what to use. If you leave it blank, you'll see what will happen. So that will be our first simple exercise. In NAV we have table relations, but the main table, I know we have one to many, many to many, one to one, but in NAV I think the one that is mainly used is one to many. One to many, whereby you can have one field that can have very many records. But we shall look at that once we start developing. So relations, how do we define table relations? Now, I want my student table. I don't know whether I should. Okay, I'm not going to introduce it to this. This student, a student, I'm assuming we're a school. Now, students give us money, isn't it? So in other words, they are customers to the what? To the organization. So I want you to add another field called customer number. Other times you will find out what to use. And customer name. Now, given that we are talking about table relations, we already have our customer table in the what? The system, isn't it? So I don't expect a user to enter the customer number. Okay. I want you to design a relation that looks up the customer list, the customer table. Now, maybe just to show you that, if I go to table 18 or table 18, and I design this, we said fields have properties, isn't it? Now, if I look at a property like, which property? Currency code. Like a property like currency code. In the system, we have currencies. I know you've looked at multi-currency in the application, isn't it? Now, if a user is entering the currency code, should they enter UGX or they should look up the table for the currency code? They should be looking up that table. So in the field properties here, if I click on the properties, you can see the table relation is what? So that alone makes it a what? Low relation, meaning that, so here in the customer number on the student table, the property for this table, for this field will be customer. The table is customer. It is the page that is a customer list. Yeah? And to test your application, you will run it. Yeah? You will compile it. Run. Are you seeing this run? So mine is not going to run. But once you run, you'll be, oh, okay. I thought it was giving me trouble. Eh? So as you design, you will run, yeah? And you put some figures. Then, after doing that drop down, you will see whether it can, once you click on it, it can show you a list of customers, and then that. Now, once you look up the customer number, I don't want the user to type the customer name, because the customer name is already stored in the what? The customer table, isn't it? When somebody enters the customer number, I also want the customer name to come automatically. So how would you do that? That can also be done through property. You can write code, but that can still be done through a property. Let me just show you that. How do we do that? For instance, the system has what we call, do you know flow fields? Have you heard of flow fields? What are flow fields? What are flow fields, Vanangi? But I'm assuming that you went through because application is the first training, whereby you need to understand everything. Yeah? Once you understand the application, then development will be good. And you can even double roles, because after here, we shall see who will be the developers and who will be the people who do application, setting up a company, what. But in most cases, we all double those roles. Yeah? We all double the roles, because once you understand development, then it is automatic that you also know the application. But there are cases where you can understand the application, but you don't know what development. But once you know development, it is a must that you also know the application. If you know the application, the things you will develop will be very funny. These are things whereby you want somebody to enter the customer number. Then somebody enters the customer number that is not even in the system. Then once you start generating invoices, the thing tells you customer cannot be found. So now to prevent all those errors, if you know the application very well, then even the development will become easier, because you will see how did they achieve. For example, if I didn't tell you this and I wanted you to do it, I would expect you to go to the sales header table. You know how to zoom a page? Let me first show you. If I come maybe to the sales orders and I edit this order, and I come here to view help, this is called zooming a page. So when I zoom it, it tells me this page is using a source table code 36. Now, if I want to see how did they make this drop down that I'm seeing, remember I've said the source table is what? 36. So I'll go to the developer, look for my source table, which is 36, design. I want to see the sale to customer number. What properties are there? The property is what? Is customer, okay? So mean that even me, I'll make my property there customer. Okay, my question was, what is a flow field?
Yeah, flow field is like you have another.
Should I first call Rock to take you through the development rather than application, so that by the time I come back here, I can call him so that he takes you through. I'm going to tell him that people don't know flow fields. Oh, he didn't mention about them. I don't know why this thing is misbehaving. Okay, a flow field is like a virtual field. I want you to go to the chart of accounts. When you look at the chart of accounts, there's a field called balance, but that field is not a field in a table. That balance is computed from another table. That balance is maybe a sum of all the general ledger entries relating to that account. Now, in such scenarios, we call that a flow field. We call that a flow field. Now, it is a virtual table, a virtual field rather. So right now I'm on the customer. I'm on the customer table. I'm on table what? Table 18. I've designed it. Okay. Now in this table 18, I have a field called balance. Isn't it? I have a field called balance. Who has seen balance? Can I search by field name? Oh, this is okay. Here we cannot sort, but seeing debit balance, credit balance, there should be a field for balance. Okay, have balance and balance LCY. Now this is a customer table. Now once you post the sales invoice, it comes what we call the customer ledger entries. Then we have the customer ledger entries. The customer ledger entries will show us the breakdown of the transactions. Now, on the customer card, I know you've seen a balance field there. But how is that balance computed? That balance is computed through, it is displayed on that field, and that field is a virtual field. So if I click on the properties of this field, called balance, you can see the field class is what? It is a flow field, okay? It is a flow field. And then here in the properties, I have it is finding the sum, okay? Sum from which table? From the detailed customer ledger entries. There's another table called detailed customer ledger entries where we have now, this was an invoice or a payment and other things. So it is summing from this table. Which field is it summing? Amount field. Now remember in the customer ledger entries, I have customer now, and even I have fields related to other, I have records related to other what? Customers. So in a flow field, I can specify what? A table filter. In other words, I want to look at other filters, but let me focus on this. I want to get where the customer number is the same as the number field. In other words, the customer number is in this table code, and then the number is in the table code customers, because in this table, customer, we have the customer number, which is the first what? The first record. So in my flow field, I create a what? I am clicking this. How do you call this? Sorry? Somebody is saying, I'm hearing somebody saying drop down. This is the assist edit, yeah? Yes, I click the assist edit, and then this is now the drop down. Sum, this and this. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to, on this field for customer, I want you to get for me balance. Now the balance that on this field for student, I want you to get for me the balance. You just keep it simple. This balance should be the sum of the detailed customer ledger and the customer that you've entered here. I want to get the customer balance in our new table of the student. So if I created a student and I seen a customer number, I want you to get the balance. So the balance will be a flow field. It should sum the detailed customer ledger entries where the customer. Am I speaking rocket science? All the exercises is becoming complicated. If we had time, we would go through this together. You didn't understand the table thing? Okay, what I want, don't focus on these other fields. You only focus where customer number is the same as now here. I will see customer number is the same as the customer number, but the another customer number is because I've also named this customer number, and I already have customer number in the detailed customer ledger entries. But if you say where your customer number is equal to number, the way you are saying there, the system may not return the balance because the number of the student may be different from the number stored in the customer detailed. So you should say where customer number is the same as this customer number here, because it is this customer number that is stored in the underlying table where we are getting the balance from. These are tools for whatever, don't mind about them. I only need this. Now we have what we call some index fields. Now in most cases, customer name. Now that one I thought you would get it, but I don't want somebody to type the customer name. So the first thing, you make this uneditable. That is also what? A field property. If you look here in the field properties, we have editable. So are you saying that the balance is editable? No. Why? Because I don't want somebody to type in the balance. I want it to come from the customer ledger entry. So even the name should be uneditable. Now, how do you get the name of the customer? Now, still, we are going to use what we call a flow field, yeah? But there are also other scenarios that we can use to achieve this through code. But we've not used the real code, we are still on the properties. So we shall use properties. So it will still be a flow field, but the format of that flow field, it won't be sum, it will be a lookup, okay? It will be a lookup. It will be a lookup. It will be looking up which table, customer table, and which field will need to be looking up, customer table. And that will be all. Even the way is important. Where the customer number is the same, you'll find that. But still also be important because if you don't put that, you'll find that you will get funny names, names that are related to the customer. So that's how I want you to achieve that. Then here in the score, you also enter some scores. Now, this will be our first table. Then you also create another table. Table 2. This will be, you give it, if this is 50,001, 50,000, this will be 50,001. So in the second table, what are we going to do? In the second table, I want only one record. This table will only have one record. This one record will have a field code. The field name you call it primary key as the field name. Okay. This primary key will be integer, and it won't take any values. Now, other fields that I want in this table, I want you to find for me the total. The total, you just name it total, but it will be the total, the total score. So this total score I want you to use, it should be a flow field, yeah? So I want you will use a flow field whereby we shall get sum, and we shall sum the students table and this field. So in this field, I expect to have the first score. And as I enter more students here with their scores, and I run this table, it automatically show me the total. Okay? So you will use this, isn't it? It will be also and should not be editable. Another field that I want you to do all these fields. I'll need another field for average. I'll need another field for if exist. Now exist may not exist. Exist is normally used, for example, if somebody enters comments, and you want to see whether there are any comments, you can add a boolean somewhere, and you look up and another list to see whether. But let me. I want to know whether there are any. Once you create this new table, before you insert any scores, this will be known. Okay. As you insert records, it will, the moment you insert the first record, it will automatically turn to what? Yes. Okay. True. So I also want you to explore that field for exist. And then I want you to do for me another field will be count. Okay. As you enter records here, if I run this table, I want to see how many students do I have in this table. So this table too, we only have one record with a summary of all the records here. I need the count, I'll need the minimum and the maximum score.
How can you add more records? Because this one seems like they'll be difficult.
No. Okay, I don't know whether maybe just it will have only one row. It will have only one. You don't even put that table. You won't even insert anything there. It will be computing automatically because the fields here are flow fields from this table. So that table, once you do all your things and you also have the other table, once you insert here, you also run the other table and we see. Let me just give you something small of what I want. 50,000. So here, if I have maybe score, we'll give it a decimal. So I have this. That is my first table, okay? Now in the second table, we call it what? It will have primary key as the name, and this will be integer. Then we said we have, let me call it sum. Sum will be a decimal. So here, I'm looking at field class should be raw field, and the calculation formula, that's where you specify now the calculation. I'm summing up my student, and which field am I summing up? Score. I don't need any relationship here. Then I press OK. Save this. You must have an ID. 5001. Which name? We call it statistics. If this is existing, the system will complain. If it has a table called statistics already, it will complain. Yeah. It's okay. That table was not there. So if I run this, what is it? I don't know why my computer is slow. But if I run it, should also come like this, and I should be in position to. So this is my student table. I can have a student. Let me say ST0001. first name is Emmanuel and is getting maybe 75. I have Grace. What is it? What should I give you? 80, and so on. So if I run now, if I run this other table, why is it taking long? Okay, you will try that. I don't know why mine is not running, but at the end of the day, I want the second table to have all those grids that I'm talking about. The first record.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will have only one record. Yeah, it will come automatically. I have over 12 emails to respond to. Okay. I don't know why this step is not running, but I'm praying that yours runs. But in case it also fails, you will reach me on Teams, and I find out why. So you try out that. I was talking about the sum index fields. Now there are cases whereby what is that? Okay, the sum index fields. You will read the documentation, but in case you want to remember the flow field, if I had over 1,000 records, okay, 1,000 is little, maybe 10,000 or 100,000 records or 1 million records. You find that when I'm calculating the sum or the average, the system may be somehow slow because the records have grown. So in such scenarios, you specify now this as a sum index field. So that is mainly to make the process of calculating flow fields a little bit faster. So I'll give you documentation and you'll see how you can set up a field to be a sum index field. Then also another field property that we have, another field class, is the flow filter. So in most cases, we may want to find customer balances, maybe in a given range, in a given date range. So in such cases, you create a date filter and you make it a flow filter. Then as you're specifying your calculation group, you use now that date filter to filter out balances maybe for a given year. So that is the purpose of the flow filter. Flow filters are used mainly to limit the flow fields to a given range. So for today, I will stop there, but I want you to read these manuals. I don't know whether you received them. These ones, So I want you to go through PDF 1. It is only 28 pages. And I want you, I don't know whether you can try to answering some questions here. You can run objects that are not compiled. Somebody tell us, is it true or false? It's false. Okay, we shall see. Which object type do you use to enable users view and enter information in Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013? Page, Are you sure? Okay. Can another developer overwrite an object locked by you? No. Let us read the question again. Can another developer overwrite an object locked by you? Yes or no? No. Okay, good enough. The answers are down. Which object type is new? I think this was a query. Was it a query or XML report? In other versions, we had data ports. So I think this could be. What are the 3 elements of a logical database structure in Dynamics NAV? Or what are the elements? Somebody's looking at the board. We have fields, table. Okay, let us look at the answers. Fields, record, table, and ampersand. So I think I added database. It is not a logical structure. So this one, it is query that was new, not data ports. Somebody said yes, yeah. We all said, we said no, eh? So what is used for editing? A page. And then finally, you can run, was this a question or a statement? You can run objects that are not compiled, full stop. That is false. So I want you to read through this. It is only 28 pages. I know you can read this in how many hours? 1 hour, 30 minutes? Because as we proceed, you need to know this information. But you read to understand, not to, even if you don't finish it and you read something and you understand it, then that will be better than finishing it and you can't even explain whether you can lock a table. Somebody can modify a table that is locked. Then another thing that I need you, that is the first PDF. Another one will be PDF number 2. Only 50 pages. Did we go through this? What is the option string for the reverse field in the customer? Now, you looked at reverse, isn't it? How to reverse transactions. And once you reverse, there is a field that is ticked, isn't it, automatically? So what do you think that field is? What is the option string for the field? It is option string. It can be true or false. For the reverse, I think it is true. Hey, this is, what is the option string for the reserve? What is the option string for reserve field? Okay, I think that one you can find out from the system, isn't it? So if you go to the system, so now they're testing whether you know how to find the field properties, isn't it? And you go to the customer and you look at the what? Reserve. So Aniagira, where is it? Reserve. Right there. So they're asking what are the option fields. So fields have properties. So if you see an option, we need to go to the properties. So what are the option fields? Never, option, and so they wanted us to find the answers from there. So that means that you know how to find field properties. So once you create an option field, then you specify the option string here. So I can also ask you what is the calculation formula for the balance field on the customer table. So that one you can go to the balance, look at the properties, you say calculation formula, which is sum, what, and that will be the answer for that. What is the value of the table relation property of the global dimension code in the customer table as developer opened there, and they look for that. If you have your developer already open, what is the value of the table relation property of the global dimension one code of the customer table? So you go to the customer table, okay? You understand that question, eh? It's almost somehow the same as the first one. We are just taking a look at the properties. So you go to the customer table, then you look for this quick code global dimension one. It is around 24. So what is the dimension there? It should be dimension code where dimension what blah blah. All right, so let us proceed. That one you'll find it out later in case you've not managed to see it. What class of field is date filter field in the GL account table? What do you think? Don't have a calendar. What class? Now, when I talk about class, we have three classes. Flow fields. We have flow fields. We have flow filters and what? So if I come here to a normal, yes, and normal. So these are the field classes. So back to the question. And this is the thing that I've just explained before even we finished. What class of field is the date filter? Remember, in the GL account, we need to find the balance. Yes, it is a flow filter. In the GL account, we need to find the balance. But you may want to, you know, the chart of account, you can limit totals. You've seen that option. Now, in that limit totals, there is a date filter that is specified that helps you to find so that is a flow filter. What table property defines the default lookup page of the table? What table property? We looked at this, we even changed it to a vendor list. You remember that? Hey, our colleague, who? Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm around.
Could you answer that question? Were you around when we are starting? What it is some of the things we started with? What table property defines the default lookup page? Okay, you go to the table, any table, you design it, then you scroll down at the bottom, you find the properties. Now they are lookup table ID and something like that. I think it's a lookup page ID. Just design a method. Just design a method. And click at the properties. Keys. I think it is. Is it lookup? I think it's lookup. Lookup page ID. Okay. You can mute your mic. That's fine. Let us go to the next question. What field property? Please, HTTP. You will look at it later. What field property is used to force the user to enter a primary key field? What field property is used to force? What is that? Not blank? No, we have field property. Some field properties are, you will read, I think we have field property called not blank. Are you seeing it? Let me just go to the primary key. No, that is the one, but not blank. Oh, this is no. Anyway, I don't know, but you will find out. But I suspect it to be not blank. What number range can you use for new fields that are added to the customer table? What number range? So even I said for the tables we use 50,000, yeah? But even for the fields, when you're adding new fields to a standard table, it's better to start with 50,000. To view customers in order. Now, if you fail this one, I'll know that I wasted my time talking. Hey, by the way, Let us try it. But even if you fail, don't worry. To view customers in order by city that they live in, what do you need to change in the table description? Yeah, now that you are correct, but you are wrong. Read the question very carefully. You are correct, but you are wrong. What do you need to change in the table description? The key thing is table what? You change it in the table description. Where do we set our primary, our secondary keys? I know we set secondary keys, isn't it? But where do we set them? You view keys, isn't it? That is not table description. Anyway, we shall see the answers. But of course, if you want to sort them by city, you add it as a secondary key. But do we need to change the table description? Do you think? No. But did you get the question? The question is just confusing because you know that we are all going to say secondary keys. So they've added table description so that now these people who read questions without finishing them. Yes, but do we change that description if you want to sort? That has nothing to do with the sort, isn't it? So this question was targeted to people who read the question without finishing and then they answer. Then they come out of the exam and they say, paper was very easy. Okay. But don't worry, this is the first time, yes? So it is not always that memorize everything. But as you read through, you will get. What do you need to change in the salesperson code field in the customer table so that the user is only able to look up the salespeople that have commission percentage rather than 0? Remember when I said you where your customer number is equal to customer number, so that was a table filter, isn't it? So I think that is the answer, isn't it? Because here we need to filter. Look up where sales people that have commission percentage. So in the table filter, you can put that filter. Are we together? In the caption, okay, let me just go back there. If I go to our balance field, yeah. Now, if you want to filter out here in the calculation formula, first of all, this must be a flow field. If it is normal, you won't see the calculation formula. So once I go to the calculation formula here, are you seeing the table filter? Now, this is where you will say, maybe where your sales commission, I'm assuming that that is the field for sales commission. It is not there. Where maybe sales commission, you filter greater than what? 0, something like that. So that is what you're asking for. So that all the sales people have that whatever. So that is a table filter property, isn't it? This is what I'm saying. This is a table filter, but is under the flow fields in the calculation formula. Calculation formula. If you click that, we have that table filter. Okay, now let us look at our answers. Did we get the first one? The second one, those who tried, I think you saw that. And then this one. Did we get this? What about this? I said it. Now, this one I said you start from 50,000, yeah? But you can end at 999, yeah? But now, as partners, we also buy given ranges, yeah? We have custom solutions that we put in some ranges that are in the 51 million range. But now for those, we shall talk about them later on. But for now, make sure that all your customizations, whether table or field IDs, have these what? These IDs, eh? And finally, Hey. New, if no, not customer ID, as long as you're adding new fields to a table, to a standard table. You see here, eh? If I want to add here a new field, this is the customer table. If I want to add a new field, I will start from what? 50,000, and I go, this is my new field, and I go like that. But if I'm creating my own new table, like the table we created in 50,000 range, you don't need to start, because this is my what? I don't need to start with 50,000. Here I can start with 1, because this is already a custom table. Microsoft will not come and say that they're also going to create a table called 50,000. I'm already in the custom range. So for that table, some people normally start again with 50,000 here. No, you shouldn't do that. Here, even if you start with 1, yeah, it is okay, because this is a what? But if you're modifying a standard one, you start from the other end. Now here, I think you must define a key that starts with a city field and in the table description. I didn't expect this. I thought this was a secondary key. Then I think they're talking about a secondary key, but you don't change this in the table description. You change this in the keys. But we looked at this. View keys, then you add a key. Down. Don't you remember here, I can come here to view keys. This first one is a primary key. If I want to add another secondary key, I add it from here. Then come and say that I want to sort by first name. So first name is a secondary key. If I want to do a composite key where I have number, I can now, on this primary key, I can click this. Now this is number. So if here I say that I need a combination of both number and name, be the key. You see now I have number and what? And name. So you do it from here. This is a secondary key, this is a primary key. Now this one we got it, isn't it? So I also want you to read through this PDF. It's only 50 pages. And you find that there are some exercises that I want you to try out. Yeah? All the demos. I want you in chapter 2, I want you to go to page 23. There is this page 23. In addition to the exercises I've given you, I want you to try out this. You create a new table. I know you know how to create a new table. You enter these fields. You follow through the entire exercise. Okay? Then also, I want you to, that is page 23. I also want you to try out the last lab. Yeah? I don't know, is it table 33? But you can also use 2018 to develop. Yeah? I want you to try out this lab. The good thing, they tell you even the steps: create this, click new. They tell you the steps. So I want you also to try out. The other one was page 20. I want page 13. You can write these pages. Page 13, I think that was chapter 1 or chapter 2. If you don't find it in chapter 1, you take chapter 2. There is a demo for creating table. You try out that. Then in chapter 2, page 23, there's also a demo that I request you to try out. And then in chapter 2, page 33, there is a lab 2.1. You also try it out. So tomorrow we shall be starting with module 3. The last one is page 33 in chapter 2. So tomorrow we shall start with pages, and we shall go through now how we can have now these pages. But right now we shall be running the tables directly from the developer. So I want you to read those 2 PDFs. I think they won't be difficult given that we've gone through all of them. Yeah? First. So they won't be that difficult. Read through them, try out the labs, so that tomorrow when we meet, we are all on the same page. Unfortunately, I'm not going to try out these things because I'm now going to do some work, but you teach me. You tell me how things have gone. So tomorrow, our lesson, we shall start with a review of our work. Yeah, that's it for today. I don't know whether you have any questions, but if not, allow me to wish you a good day and safe reading. Okay, bye-bye. I'm going to end this call.
Okay.